Welcome to Bangkok, capital of the Kingdom of Thailand, and home for almost 10 million people. Among the Thais here are people from all corners of the world. They have found something here, something special. And there are few who live here who do not love that something special about Bangkok. Three capitals of Thailand, of which Bangkok is the third. Founded in 1782 by King Rama I, the initial monarch of the present Chakri dynasty. Sukhothai in the north was the first Thai capital, followed by Ayutthaya on the central plains. When Ayutthaya was savagely destroyed by invaders in 1767, a Thai general named Taksin mounted a force which successfully routed the occupiers. But Ayutthaya was ruined beyond restoration, and the newly crowned King Taksin moved the capital down the country's main river to its mouth, where he established Thonburi as the new capital. Not 20 years later, King Taksin had to relinquish his crown due to mental disorder. The ruling junta requested another Thai general, Chao Phraya Chakri, to become king, and thus was founded the current Chakri dynasty. He chose to re-establish the former glory of Ayutthaya at a new location just across the river, in a village called Bangkok. Bangkok's real name is Krungthep Mahanakhon, at least in part. The full name is one of the longest in the world. But its meaning may speak of that very aura which makes Bangkok so special. Krungthep literally means City of Angels. Wat Arun, Temple of the Dawn, is one of Bangkok's most famous structures, one of its first temples, and remains one of its most beautiful. 76 meters in height, Wat Arun was built on the site of an older monastery which had been ordered restored by King Taksin when Thonburi was still the capital. The heart of Bangkok is the Grand Palace and its historic buildings and temples. The royal family no longer resides here, having a newer palace located elsewhere in the city. To visit the Grand Palace is to become enveloped in a part of this special aura of Bangkok. It is a sense of royal occasion, a sense of speciality, a journey back into time. Wat Phra Kaew, the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, is one part of the Grand Palace which is still in use by Thailand's current reigning monarch, King Bhumibol Adulyadej the Great, the 9th king of the Chakri dynasty. Its serene beauty attracts thousands of visitors daily. The Temple of the Emerald Buddha is a shining complex of gilded pavilions, glittering stupas, and mythical creatures, which together make one of the world's most stunning creations. The Buddha image of this temple, 75 centimeters in height, is not emerald, but in fact is carved from a massive piece of jasper. During a time when the Siamese were under attack, this Buddha was covered in cement and, as years passed, forgotten. It was only when a rainstorm inundated the temple grounds where the disguised statue was located that the true Jasper Buddha was discovered after it toppled and broke open, revealing its magnificent treasure. The Emerald Buddha is the most sacred Buddhist object in Thailand and is the personal Buddha of His Majesty the King. Bangkok used to be known as the Venice of the East. Its streets of today are built over 1,000 klongs or canals, which used to be the main routes of transport for the city. Because cars were demanding more roadway, the klongs eventually were filled in one by one, until today only a few remain in Bangkok. Thonburi is adjacent to Bangkok, just across the Chao Phraya River. Most people think of it as a part of Bangkok. The capital used to be like this, in the days when it was truly the Venice of the East. Today, visitors whisk along in long-tailed boats, passing many small boats full of fruits, vegetables, sacks of rice, flowers, meats, and other goods. These waterborne merchants readily exchange greetings with each other and with the tourists. Though more plentiful, today's visitors are similar to the tourists of yesteryear, who wrote and spoke of the charming aura of Bangkok, just as do the adventurers of today. A favorite visitor attraction are the floating markets. There are several located close to Bangkok, and they convey a primary fact of life here, that the Thais live on and around water. Many of their festivals are based on water, and of course the annual rains are greatly relied upon by this agrarian society. One of the favorite attractions of any tour along Klong Bang Khun Tien is a stop at the snake farm, which houses almost every variety of snake to be found here. Encountering snakes in Bangkok is a rare occurrence, but it's not so unusual in the country. Thailand is full of snakes, though most are non-poisonous. Still, it is a chilling experience to find one, poisonous or not, and few Thais would be as nonchalant around a snake as these handlers. Watch this man pick up a snake by his teeth as he performs at Bangkok's world-famous snake farm. In the middle of an always bustling Bangkok, there is a golden mound. It has been here almost since the city began. It's not a long walk to the top, and your reward for making it is a shimmering vista of Bangkok's skyline, while you perch atop a mountain of peace and of gold, at least in name. The mount is built atop an ancient wat, ordered restored by King Rama I. Copying the great golden mount of Ayutthaya, King Rama III's attempt collapsed in rubble. King Rama V's attempt was more successful and still stands as a golden landmark of Bangkok. people as religious as are the Thais. Devout Buddhists to the point of including their gentle philosophy in every aspect of their lives. In the heart of Bangkok is the temple of the reclining Buddha, Wat Po. Its grounds contain the main temple, surrounded by 4 great jadis, which represent the first 4 kings of the Chakri dynasty. Wat Po is the largest temple in Bangkok and houses what is probably the largest reclining Buddha in the world, 15 meters high and 46 meters long. It is made of cement-covered brick and is covered in gold leaf. On its heels are inscribed the many auspicious signs which identify a true Buddha. For most Thais, there is no more exciting sport than Thai boxing. It is a skillful sport where many of the blows which are illegal in world boxing are here allowed. Elbows, knees, fists, head and feet are all legal weapons in this bout. These boxers are highly trained and respect their teachers and their protective spirits as a central part of their training and discipline. Boxing fans flock to one of several boxing rings in Bangkok, including Lumpini Stadium and Rajdamnern Stadium, the 2 best known. Most fans indulge in gambling, and often the betting is more fun to watch than the boxing. This is the Memorial Bridge in Bangkok, and near it is one of Bangkok's more peaceful attractions, the Flower Market. This Thai gentleman is selling lotus flowers, which themselves have special meaning in Thailand. The Lord Buddha compared attaining enlightenment to the blossoming of a lotus flower, rising from the earth, through the water, and into the air and the sunshine, where it blossoms beautifully and reaches for the light. Thailand is a country rich in beautiful flowers. Equally famous with the lotus, though less symbolic, is the orchid, one of Thailand's major exports. It wasn't always so. Orchids at one time could only be found on mountain tops in the north. But the fame of their unique beauty spread, and farms sprang up, where Thai developers lent their special touch to producing the vast array of orchid breeds which today reach the far corners of the world. But in spite of the modern approaches of developers and breeders, old ways remain. Small-scale farmers still cut their flowers by hand and transport them to the markets by canal. The flowers here are the loveliest, their delightful incense covering the walkways of Bangkok. As lovely as Bangkok's flowers are her many temples, and the loveliest is Wat Benjamapopit. It is built of white Italian marble, so ordered by King Chulalongkorn in 1899. In spite of its age, it is Bangkok's newest monastery and the finest example of modern Thai architecture in all of the kingdom. The main temple shelters a beautiful Buddha surrounded by bold, stenciled tapestry. The Lord Buddha is said to have fasted at one time for 40 days, which left him exhausted and emaciated. The statue representing this time in his life rests here, among many bronze images lining the walls of the cloisters enclosing the spacious and beautiful inner courtyard. roof is covered with golden Chinese tiles, and white marble lions guard the main entrance to Wat Benjamapopi. Bangkok is a city of many nationalities and races. All who abide here are under the protection of His Majesty the King, who represents the heart of the Thai people. An integral part of that heart is Chinatown in Yaowarat district, home to millions of ethnic Chinese. It is also a major hub of business in Bangkok and no doubt one of its richer areas. Chinatown has its own beauty and its own peaceful images. The Chinese people migrated to Thailand at different times, but have always easily integrated with the other cultures here. Their own culture remains sacred to them, though in their hearts, they too are Thai, a word meaning free. Thais are incredibly adept with their hands, steady and sure, and well concentrated on the task before them. Thai dolls are a fine example of the handicraft skills of the Thai workman. Each is handmade, details outstanding in their quality, a fine souvenir which demonstrates the true focus of Thai handicraft workmen. Represent any number of subjects, but mostly they are of Thai dancers. Joining the list are costumed villagers, hill tribesmen, children, beautiful women in historic dress, ethnic representations, and many more. This doll is created from the Ramayana, an epic mythical story which is the inspiration for many masterpieces of Thai classical dance. The Thai version of the Ramayana, of Indian origin, is called the Ramakien. It is, at its base, a version of the struggle between good and evil, and is the most popular of all classical Thai dances. Thai classical dancing is a rigorous discipline. Its performers start at a very young age to master its many movements and nuances. Good conquers evil as the performance draws to an end, having captivated another Bangkok audience. It is here, in the heart of the kingdom, that the delicate beauty of the classical dance of Thailand is best preserved. The glory of a bygone age, the former Thai capital of Ayutthaya, is located 1 hour north of Bangkok. Today, it has the aura of a small town, with its scattered ruins a constant reminder of its violent history. Imagine this place, Ayutthaya, at the height of its glory, as the capital of Siam, a shining gem, resplendent with golden temples and palaces. It was established in 1350, following the age of Sukhothai, another former Siamese capital city of the 13th century. Ayutthaya in its day was larger than either London or Paris at that time, and what remains of it now tells little of its stunning beauty and greatness. But Ayutthaya lived in disturbed times and was constantly under threat of war or actual siege. Until finally, in 1767, invading Burmese so thoroughly sacked the city that it could not be rebuilt. First Thonburi and then Bangkok became the new capital. You don't have to travel far past Bangkok's gates to find the rural life, the life on the water and in the fields. People here are different, closer to the earth and to nature. This is the Pasak River, which winds its way through the rice fields onto Ayutthaya, first stopping at a place called Bangpa Inn. Bangpa Inn is just 61 kilometers from Bangkok, a few kilometers off the main road leading to Ayutthaya. First founded in 1632 as a royal retreat, the huge lake and palace grounds have been used through the centuries by the kings of Ayutthaya. Then, when that great capital fell and Bangkok began its long reign, Bangpa Inn fell into disuse, too far from the new capital to be practical as the resort it was intended to be. It was the great King Mongkut who resurrected this place to its former glory. His son, the equally loved King Chulalongkorn, also used this resort, both kings taking advantage of the advent of steam-engined riverboats. This European-style temple, Wat Niwet Tamapravat, exemplifies the variety of styles to be found at Bangpa Inn. Bangkok is indeed a wonderland, a playground for young and old alike, where all the attractions of any modern city can be found. This is Magic Land, one of several amusement parks in the city. It's mainly city residents who attend such parks, which are modern, well cared for, and a great family outing opportunity. Thailand's floating markets are world famous and a tourist favorite. This is the floating market of Ratchaburi, near Bangkok. This market has retained its original flavor, while the other, which we saw earlier, has been tailored more for the tourist. Early each morning, the women arrive in their boats, laden with goods which, hopefully by noontime, will be in the hands of others. Many things change quickly in today's world, but Ratchaburi's enchanting floating market will always be there to serve this waterborne society. Enter now the parade which opens the daily visitor show at the Rose Garden, just outside Bangkok. It's a highly popular program locally as well, which presents different aspects of Thai life. Cockfighting is a favorite sport in the villages, and Thai dancing is a part of the culture which is highly maintained. The Rose Garden's Thai boxing exhibition is action-packed, though staged, unlike real Thai boxing. Here's a different kind of thrill, which combines pedestrian dexterity with joyful dance. The Rose Garden Show's sword fight features a young lady who exemplifies the womanhood of Thailand. Thai ladies are to be reckoned with, and in many ways run the country from the background. A highlight of the program is this simulated Thai wedding, which begins with a typical village procession.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up now is the wedding procession. Please imagine the Thai-style house facing you now is the house of the bride-to-be. The procession is now...
Finally, the Rose Garden Show ends with a delightful Thai dance called the Rumwong, giving visitors a taste of the joy of Thai dancing. We now enter the western portion of Thailand, passing through its gateway, the city of Nakhon Pathom, home of the largest Buddhist monument in Thailand, Phra Pathom Jedi, 119 meters high. The infamous bridge over the River Kwai is today a major tourist destination in western Thailand. The Thai government has overseen its renovation and has established a major cemetery as well as archaeological sites to honor the brave spirit of the men who were the victims of this tragedy of war. The bridge which crosses the River Kwai today is not the original construction, which was destroyed by Allied bombs. The first crocodile farm of Thailand is found in Samut Prakan, 30 kilometers outside Bangkok. Originally, the crocodile farm was intended to be for breeding, the skins to be used for handbags, belts, shoes, and other items. The owner had a change of heart and decided to exhibit these unusual creatures for the public. The daily show is a delight to audiences made up of Thais and visitors alike. The fearless handlers present a truly thrilling program which puts these fierce crocodiles through their paces. Thailand maintains many historic sites. Replicas of many such sites, mostly temples and palaces, have been constructed at the ancient city. This is a park shaped as a map of Thailand, and along with the replicas, has some original buildings reconstructed as well. The ancient city is most popular with visitors who have a limited schedule, as well as with local movie companies. Thailand is a land rich with contrast, and perhaps Pattaya, 2 hours drive east of Bangkok, is the best example of the features which make Thailand a favorite for sun worshippers and revelers alike. What is now Thailand's most thriving resort, which enjoys worldwide popularity, started out not that long ago from a small fishing village. Its delightful bay is perfect for all types of water sports, and its nightlife rivals that of Bangkok itself. Pattaya is now a world-famous resort, and almost as well known as the capital. This has been a journey to a city which time has not forgotten, but enriched. Bangkok is a modern metropolis which joins the great cities of the world. Yet there is something which separates it from the others, which brings visitors back to it again and again. It is that aura, that special feeling, that peace, and that joy, which is distinctly Thai and distinctly Bangkok. To be in Bangkok is to feel at home in a strange, exotic place. For Bangkok is this as well. But there is nothing foreign about the smile in the eyes of a Thai whom you might encounter on the street in Bangkok, who will surely greet you with a form of blessing, with which we leave you. Sawadee krap.
boxers are through with their prayer, they're ready to begin. By the way, the colorful bands on their heads are called charms. They are believed to protect them from all harm and danger. The round one is ready to begin. Thank you, and that was only the first round. Unlike in international boxing, in our Thai boxing, we allow the use of almost every part of the body, ranging from the elbows, ankles, knees. Might have observed a fist also used. These boxers, by the way, are professionals. They fight regularly in Bangkok as well as at the Rose Garden. For your information, there are two well-known boxing stadia in town. They are the Rathanan Stadium and the Lumpini Stadium. We'll be continuing with the next round very shortly after this break. Thai boxing, or Muay Thai as we call it. Incidentally, almost every kind of Thai sport is essentially a betting sport. So it is not a surprise. their favorite game, which is cockfighting, and today we're going to present to you some rounds of this. But before we begin, we would like to point out that these birds do not fight to death here in Thailand. If you'd observe closely, there are no knives nor spurs attached to their legs. Seconds we're giving our birds a rest and a rub down by their trainers in order to ensure a better performance in the next encounter. These birds are especially bred for fighting, so they could be very fierce at times, as this is also a betting sport, betting here, but it is done even at the end of each round, which in the actual fighting it would consist of 12 rounds altogether. By the way, the timing is done by placing a small coconut shell imagine the Thai-style house facing you now as the house of the bride-to-be. The procession is now approaching the entrance to the bride's house, but to the bride's people. Once that is done, they are allowed into the compound. The procession includes the bridegroom together with his friends and relatives. They'll carry all sorts of valuable gifts to the bride's people. Their money wrapped in red paper for bargaining at the entrance. Betel nuts and leaves for the elder relatives. Money and gold chains for the bride's parents. White linen and spirits for worshipping the bride's ancestors. Fruits, sweetmeats, and noodle specks of a long life. Sugar canes and bananas means a wealthy life. The newlyweds will now be going up on the altar to say their prayer from their friends and relatives. Receive blessings from their friends and relatives. Two monkey cords linked together by a piece of string are now being placed on the newlyweds' heads to signify unity. Next, both of them are going to be anointed with scented balm on their foreheads. And lustre water is going to be poured over their hands to bless them and wish them everlasting happiness. Friends and elder relatives will be taking turns pouring lustre water over their hands. What you're now witnessing is a typical Thai wedding ceremony. Coming right next after this, we'll have another traditional Thai village dance called the Yoi dance.